Next with this DFI board is the key that unlocks it all, the key to Pandora's box, DFI's Northbridge cooling technology with passive heat pipe system. Also with this you can add an additional fan for extreme cooling and overclocking. Now we'll just mount this directly to the Northbridge here on the motherboard. Placing it down on the board with the fan mount facing the PCI Express slots. You'll want to hold it in place while pushing down these 4 J-hooks connecting it directly to the motherboard. In doing so, we'll give a direct connection and some of the best cooling currently in the market for Northbridge chipsets. Now, with this, airflow currently through the case will keep this cool, but for the extra benefit you still have the mounting brackets here. Now in going ahead and adding a fan, you'll just plug it in directly to the fan port right below the Northbridge cooler. The last and final part of this installation brought to you by motherboardpro.com. We're going to install the CPU to unlock the final key to this puzzle. We'll start by removing the safety cover right over the top of the socket itself. The next step, you'll want to go ahead and unlock the security lever on the socket and then lift the CPU shim, revealing the socket itself. Next, you'll take your socket 775 Intel processor, lining up the notches on the side of the processor with the notches on the side of the socket itself, dropping it straight down into the socket, preventing any moving, risking damaging the pins below. Next, you'll close the shim and lock the security lever back in place, holding the processor onto the board. Next, you'll take some of your DFI thermal grease and place a small pea-sized drop in the middle of the processor itself. A pea-sized drop is about all you'll need, because too much will actually insulate the heat and run the risk of damaging the processor as well as the board. When you install your heatsink, it will press down the thermal grease and spread it evenly across the processor itself. Next, you'll want to take your Intel approved heatsink and install onto the motherboard using the 4 mounting holes around the socket. Dropping the heatsink in place will line up and you can clip the brackets into the board holding the heatsink. Once it locks securely in, hearing a click from all 4 levers, you will then hook your fan power to the fan connector directly in front of the DDR2 slots. This will give accurate readings of both temperature and power for your CPU fan. You can use a zip tie to tie up the excess cable, keeping a cleaner look and better airflow. This will get you started along your way with building your new DFI lanparty UT NF680i LT motherboard, brought to you by motherboardpro.com.